If you love me, please don't judge me. Got my hands tied, the power's above me. Don't shoot the messenger, I'm just a puppet here. If you wanna place blame, then look to the puppeteer. Family, fortune, envy, jealousy, privilege, passed on, legacy, secret, sabotage, borderline, felony, suicide, subtract, selfish, pedigree, yeah.
How's it going, everybody? It's C-RadTV back here with another video. So, of course, it's time to continue on to What If NASCAR Had the F1 Points Format series. So, the last time in this series, we took a look at the Whelen Modified series in the 1990s, and we learned that quite a few things would have changed under the F1 Points format in the Whelen Modifieds in the 1990s. And in this part, we're going to continue taking a look at the Whelen Modified series by jumping to the 2000s to see what would have changed and what would have stayed the same in the Whelen Modified series if they used the F1 Points format. So, of course, before we jump off into this video, make sure you also check out the official NASCAR with F1 Points Twitter and Instagram pages, NASCAR with F1 Points Central, for exclusive NASCAR with F1 Points content. I always post new content there every day, so if you want to go check that out, feel free to do that if you wish. But yeah, anyway, on the screen, of course, are the 2 points formats we're going to be using in this part. So the top 6 points format and the top 8 points format, and we all know I already went over these formats a number of times already, so you all get the gist at this point. And before we continue on, let me once again stress out that this is just a hypothetical scenario. I know everyone would have raced differently had they used the F1 Points format. This is just for fun. So now with that out of the way, let's go ahead and let's jump right into it. So the 2000 season, it was mainly a two-man battle for the championship between Jerry Marquez and Reggie Ruggiero. Those two were the class of the field all year in terms of speed and consistency. But in the end, Reggie Ruggiero would fail to be consistent in key moments of the season when it mattered the most. Jerry Marquez would take full advantage of him with pole late in the season. And Jerry Marquez would lock up the championship with a race to go in the season. So Jerry Marquez will still win the 2000 Modifieds Championship under this format. So the 2001 season, it was a two-man battle for the championship between Mike Stefanik and Jerry Marquez. Those two were the class of the field all year in terms of speed and consistency. It was a very close championship between the two. And in the end, the championship will go all the way down to the season finale at Thompson Speedway, with Mike Stefanik entering with a 4-point lead over Jerry Marquez. So Jerry Marquez would need to finish a few spots ahead of Stefanik, and Stefanik either need to finish ahead of Marquez or stay close to him to win the title. So in the season finale at Thompson Speedway, both Stefanik and Marquez ran up front for the majority of the race, ran top 5 for most of the race. But in the end, Jerry Marquez, he would end up finishing third in the finale. But Mike Stefanik would do everything he would need to lock up the title, as Stefanik would finish second in the finale. And that second place finish would be more than enough for Mike Stefanik to lock up the championship and edge out Jerry Marquez by 6 points. So Mike Stefanik would still win the championship under this format. For the 2002 season, we would have a three-man battle for the championship between Mike Stefanik, Ted Christopher, and Ed Flemke Jr. Those three were the class of the field all year in terms of speed and consistency. But in the end, Ed Flemke Jr. and Mike Stefanik would all fail to be consistent in key moments of the season when it mattered the most. And Ted Christopher would take full advantage of it and would pole away late in the season. And Ted Christopher would lock up the championship with a race to go in the season. So Ted Christopher would win the 2002 Modifieds Championship under this format. So the 2003 season, we would have a two-man battle for the championship between Todd Sagetti and Chuck Hosfeld. Those two were the class of the field all year in terms of speed and consistency. But in the end, Chuck Hossfeld would fail to be consistent in key moments of the season when it mattered the most. And Todd Sagetti would take advantage and pull away late in the season. And Todd Sagetti would lock up the championship with 2 races to go in the season. So Todd Sagetti would still win the Toyota Modifieds Championship in 2003 under this format. So the 2004 season, it was a 2-man battle for the championship between Tony Hirschman and Ed Flemke Jr. Those two were the class of the field all year in terms of speed and consistency. It was a close championship between the two that in the end, the championship would go all the way down to the season finale at Thompson Speedway, with Tony Hirschman entering with a 7-point lead over Ed Flemke Jr. So, Ed Flemke Jr., he would effectively need to finish top 2 or win the race to have a shot at the championship, while Tony Hirschman, he just had to stay close to Flemke Jr. to lock up the title. In the season finale at Thompson, Tony Hirschman ran up front for a good chunk of the race. Ed Flemke, however, he would end up retiring from the race and end up finishing in 24th after retiring from a vibration issue. Hirschman, however, would go on to finish 3rd for good measure. So in that 3rd place finish, it would be more than enough for Tony Hirschman to lock up the championship and edge out Ed Flemke Jr. by 13 points. So Tony Hirschman would still win the 2004 Modifieds Championship under this format. So the 2005 season, it was a 2-man battle for the championship between Tony Hirschman and Ted Christopher. Those two were the class of the field all year in terms of speed and consistency. It was a close title fight between the two that in the end, the championship would go all the way down to the season finale at Thompson Speedway, with Ted Christopher entering with a 9-point lead over Tony Hirschman. So for Tony Hirschman to have a shot at winning the title, he would need to win the race, and would need Ted Christopher to finish 9th or worse out of the points to have a shot at the title. Ted Christopher either needed Hirschman to finish 2nd or worse, or Christopher just needed to finish in the points to win the title. But in the end, none of that would even matter, since both Tony Hirschman and Ted Christopher didn't even finish in the points in the season finale at Thompson Speedway, making this one of the few anticlimactic championship battles in the Modifieds under this format. So with both of them finishing outside the top 8 and out of the points, it meant that Ted Christopher would win the 2005 Modifieds Championship by default. So Ted Christopher would be the champion under this format in 2005. So the 2006 season, it was a 2-man battle for the championship between Mike Stefanik and Ted Christopher. Those two were the class of the field all year in terms of speed and consistency. But in the end, late in the season, Mike Stefanik would fail to be consistent in key moments of the year when it mattered the most. Ted Christopher would take full advantage of it with pull away late in the season. And Ted Christopher would lock up the 2006 Modifieds Championship with a race to go in the season. So Ted Christopher would be the 2006 Modifieds champion under this format. Now, Mike Stefanik would gain a few points on Ted Christopher in the season finale, but all that did was just make the championship look a lot closer than it actually was. So the 2007 season, it was all about Donnie Leah. Donnie was just the class of the field all year when it came to speed and consistency. Like, nobody was on Donnie's level in 2007. And Donnie Leah would easily cruise to the 2007 Modifieds Championship. So for the 2008 season, it was a 2-man battle for the championship between Ted Christopher and Chuck Hossfeld. Those two were the class of the field all year in terms of speed and consistency. In the end, no, Chuck Hossfeld would fail to be consistent in key moments of the season when it mattered the most, and Ted Christopher would pull away late in the season and take advantage of it. And Ted Christopher would lock up the Modifieds Championship in 2008 with a race to go in the season. So Ted Christopher would still win the championship under this format in 2008. So for the 2009 season, we would have a three-man battle for the championship between Donnie Leah, Ryan Preece, and Ted Christopher. Those three were the class of the field all year in terms of speed and consistency and separated themselves from the rest of the field. It was a very close three-man battle for the championship between those big three. And in the end, the championship will go all the way down to the season finale at Thompson Speedway, with Donnie Leah entering with a 6-point lead over Ryan Preece and a 7-point lead over Ted Christopher. So for Preece and or Christopher to have a shot at the championship, both of them need to finish at least in the top two to have a shot to win the title. And needed Donnie Leah to finish quite a number of spots back, almost out of the points to win the title. For Donnie Leah, he has to stay close to one or both of them to win the title. So in the season finale at Thompson Speedway, all three ran up front for the majority of the race, and all three ran in the top five for most of the night. In the end, though, Ryan Preece would end up finishing second in the season finale at Thompson Speedway, but Ted Christopher would end up winning the season finale. So with Ted Christopher winning, that eliminates Ryan Preece from the title battle. So Ted Christopher would be the inspiration killer, as Blue Jimmy 48 fan would prescribe it as. But the question is, would Ted Christopher's win be enough to win the title? It would not be enough, as Donnie Leah would end up finishing fourth in the season finale, and that fourth place finish would be more than enough for Donnie Leah to win lock up the title over Ted Christopher by 2 points and Ryan Preece by 3 points. So Donnie Leah would still win the 2009 Modifieds Championship under this format. So yeah, anyway, that's going to wrap it up here for this part of the What If series. So yeah, now quite a few things would have happened for sure under the F1 points format and Modifieds in the 2000s. Like in terms of championship battles that went down to the season finale, we had 4 title battles go down to the season finale. And all 4 of those title battles took place at Thompson Speedway. So yeah, it seems like Thompson has a knack of holding championship races for Modifieds. But yeah, anyway, continuing on though, and also under the F1 points format, we would have 3 title changes under the F1 points format in the 2000s for Modifieds. And those 3 taking place in 2002, 2005, and 2006. So quite a few things would have changed under the F1 points format, but for the most part, a lot of things stayed the same. So yeah, quite a bit would have happened. So yeah, that's going to wrap it up here for this part. So yeah, the next time on the What If series, we're going to wrap up the Whelen Modifieds part of the What If series by jumping to the 2010s, almost present day, to see what would have changed and what would have stayed the same if the Whelen Modifieds Tour used the F1 points format. But yeah, anyway, that's going to wrap it up here. That part comes out depending on how fast I do everything, all my research and recording and all that stuff. So yeah, like I said before, I'm in no rush to get this done. But yeah, anyway, that's going to wrap it up here. That's all I got to say. Hope everyone's a great day, and I'll see you on whatever I make next. Peace out.